Hello, folks. Nick Tockard here with the Historical Fencing Guild, and I have dropped my props. Oh, there they are. The Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you, as always, by The Simple Sword, the simplest, easiest way to learn the basics of swordsmanship with plain English and stick figures, and the Fighting Axe. For those of you who've wanted to learn the way to make the business end of an axe do the talking for you. Yes, folks, the Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe, both by me, and available at Amazon at www.amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tockard. That's me, priced competitively for your pleasure. We've got our first person through the door. Good evening, Frog G. Hey, hello. Frog, you are an amazing force to see, and the ever effervescent Bladed Thesis. Glad to see you power sliding in like you mean it. Folks, it is a beautiful day with a beautiful night. Hiya, Foxy. Bunch of my favorite people are just playing. People are chatting. This is great. We're just getting right into it. Now, I just got done doing some shopping, so I kind of had to hood slide my way into this. And Frog G's greeting everybody, as Frog G always does. Look up Operation Wrench. Frog will throw the link in the description. He better. Frog plugs everybody else. He needs to plug his own comic book. But we have to talk. We have to talk about a few things. First off, oh yes, I've been playing with this guy for a week, and I will be doing a full review of this nice little, hey kitty, welcome to the show. I'll be doing a full review video on this lightsaber in the extremely near, no wrench. I'll have to figure out a way to do that. If not, search him. Honestly, I'm still learning StreamYard. We'll make it all work. This is the most economy-based sparring saber I have found on the market, and I'm really excited to do a review of these. This is something that will be showing up in a few things, including a video to decide what color I really should be running. I'd like to know your opinion. Unfortunately, with my current lighting, it just doesn't express how cool it normally is. So I'll leave it red for now. I'm going to turn this off. But folks, a video for this is coming. I'll try to set that whole wrench thing up for you, Frog. Lord knows I trust you. But I am so excited, guys. We have what I like to call false spring. In Indiana, there's always a couple starts before you get to mud season of a few days that are just nice. They're 50s to 60s, and you just feel warm, and you remember that there is hope for the world. And then it will be bashed with some snow again to, try to crush us down. But that's okay. I'm getting some stuff done, and I'm getting set up. And as I'm working through setup, I figured you guys who are looking to do your own training at home or work with other people might benefit from that. So this is what I want to talk about a little bit tonight. But I want to hit, before I do, I am working on some live videos. There is one, I was doing a test actually for the lightsaber. That will be posted, the link to that video will be posted on my Patreon, which is where the people who support me will start getting more exclusive things. You guys give so much, I want to give back to you. Now, before we go any further, I also got a few of these bad boys. So I will be doing a Bonehead Boffer video in the very near future. I am exceedingly excited about that because with spring, more people are going to start arriving. Hi, Cindy. Now that's Cindy Kep at www.ckoepp.com. Cindy's writing on the edge for her amazing. It's going to be a media IP. Animal Eye. It's a comic. It's books. It's going to be games. I'm excited to see what's going on with that. So, guys, follow Cindy Kep if you haven't already. But yes, I will be doing a very intro to boffer class building. I will be talking real soon about basically with spring comes we have all gotten out of shape, especially as we hit post-pandemic. Aw, Foxy says, LOL, we were just playing Bop the Noggin with pool noodles with Thesis' 4-year-old niece. That's where it starts, friends. You got to start them early and get them addicted to the glory that is sword fighting. I know I'm a little muted. I did a whole lot today. I was talking with my brother a lot, so my voice is a little fuzzy, isn't it? That's okay. I think we can get through it, and if it cuts out, well, we'll just roll with those punches. But I'm going, like I said, I'm going to be shooting new videos, and I'm going to be shooting lightsaber-based videos for shenanigans, and there have been talk. I will be shooting the video I've been most hounded about very soon. There's one video that my beloved Patreon members and the people in the chat have hounded me about making concerning the special traits of trainers. So I'm basically going to have to just set up a table and go through all this. Also, I've been talking to my... I bet they did too, Kitty. Bet the little one did pretty well bopping. I look forward to that. But oh, there it goes. The weather changes are really rough up here. So, hit me in the links. What you guys... Oh, see that? She had a blast. I'm happy. I love hearing those stories. I love hearing that people had a good time. Yeah. My wife said she wasn't feeling good. I'm starting to feel a little scratchy in the throat. I hope we didn't catch something. We don't get out often, and we actually did a bunch of shopping today. But I want to talk a bit before we go into it about the stunt sabers. Stunt sabers are something I've thought about a lot. Hey, you're going to build, if you can help her correct, and establish her posture, her footwork, especially very young, it's very easy to go out and start fighting. But the sooner you do, the more balanced, the more poised they are, the more empowered, especially young ladies and our young gentlemen as well, and those in between. We need to empower them early so that they have a strong sense of self. And physical education, in my opinion, really, really is necessary, and it's not treated right. We do a lot of things for physical education throughout primary schooling, but we don't talk about why, the benefits. It's just assumed. So that's a great... Oh, Johnny, what a great... And good evening, Johnny. Our good friend Johnny K just come up. Get her in judo. She'll never hit her head on the floor. That's... The sooner you can get basic... Now, you have to be careful. People can easily overstrain children. And I am not a I'm not a martial arts professional. Hold on. I am not a physical education professional. I'm not a gym teacher. I'm not a doctor. These are my own observations. I don't want to misidentify myself as anything. But careful training and careful, but not... You don't want to overdo what her body... a little kid's body has to do a lot of growing. So always be very gentle when you're working with little children. Always have parental consent and acknowledgement. You have to be really above board and then some. But yeah, if you can get her working, and even expressive play where honey don't cross your legs so you don't fall, that can help so much. Again, we make it play no more than 10, 15 minutes. Excellent. Be very careful, and that's the way to do it. That's the way to work with children. I do, as an instructor, very, very rarely do I work with anyone under the age of 18. And that is a personal safeguard on my part, and it is a what I consider a liability issue. Though I have, in very rare occasions, worked with some children with consent. Let's see, Richie, my buddy Richie's daughters. I've worked with them. Obviously, I've done some stuff with my own son, but I have to walk a very careful balance point because my son is autistic and he has a behavioral background. So teaching him physicality to be in control without teaching him something he can use to hurt himself or others, that is a fine line. And there's a lot of responsibility. So we always have to teach responsibility and control first. Thank you. Thank you that's totally understandable. And whoops. She does have attention more. Wonderful, Kitty. And see, now I know that you're surely the kitty attached to Foxy and Thesis. The other handle Thesis goes by my speech impediment, and I do not get along with when I try to pronounce it. So it's much easier for me just to refer to him as Thesis. But yes, with a background like that, I always ask. It's funny when I talk to new students, adult students. I have the questions I ask, much like my famous "Do you smell fudge?" which is a reference. A set of questions when I dealt with things as a consultant when I was dealing with some people who had other types of problems. I ask, what is your background? And that's one thing I wish more instructors in martial arts did, because especially Western martial arts where you're sword fighting, there are a lot of factors that can affect. Dang it. Now I want fudge. I always want fudge, but there are a lot of factors that can contribute to how well someone will take to Western martial arts. I've got 20 years teaching volunteer historical martial arts based largely, my primary source was Gigante's The Soleil, his Intro to Rapier Guide. The Tom Leone translation is still my favorites. But I've studied a lot of other styles. I've done studies in La Verdadera Destreza, and I basically piecemeal what works for me and what I think will work for others. But yes, exactly. One, stir fry. We had pizza. Two, having a basis in dance made capoeira way easier. That gave me a good start on rope dart as well. See, capoeira is something, because of some of my physical limitations, would never have been on my bailiwick at my best. Basically, I have certain joint issues of my wrists and ankles that mean that would never work. But rope dart is fascinating. I'm a huge fan of rope dart artist by the name of Flo Mayhem. And yes, I understand that is demonstrated, choreographed, beautiful stuff. But it is also very, very labor intensive. And to have the kind of physical presence and the spatial awareness to do something like that is fascinating. Eastern-wise, I've played with people who did a lot of Hapkido. I've done a bit of Tai Chi over the years. I was certified in CPI, which is Crisis Prevention and Intervention, which is basically what they teach people who work with in the medical fields with special needs or mentally ill or other clients and patients who may become physically dangerous, how to handle that in a safe manner. Oh, I literally have a doctor's note that says I am forbidden to do push-ups because it would destroy my hands now. So I understand. I'm sure Thesis does. And Thesis, Kitty's hungry. Feed your kitty. Anyway, that being said, I've studied around a lot and I've looked into things and I've worked with a lot of people who've come to me with physical challenges. And it's not that I knew how to adapt for them initially. It's that I was in a position to take what I knew and a distilled version and go, what can you do? And through this process, we would work out how to learn to sword fight. And I find that fascinating. Now, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by what I'm holding. I'm intrigued by. Oh, if she wasn't in. Well, just invent some. Just okay. What you need to do is bribe Frog G. Frog G can fix just about anything, usually with a wrench. And get yourself a portal. It can't be that hard, right? I see it on TV and video games. It's that you just science up a portal, right? It's I said that in parody because people sword fighting's not that hard. It can be. It can be quite challenging. And I was laughing because people were talking to me about lightsabers have come up quite a bit. And what form do I favor and all that. That will be a whole video. I want to make sure all my terminology is where it needs to be. But I'll give you a hint. It's kind of shady. Now, long-time viewers and friends of mine and somebody by the name of Sword Sage know just how colorful my background where the Jedi and lightsabers and mythos all come together. Wow, I'm pulling the Wayback File for that. What's this sword fighting kick to my butt? It wasn't until I found the rope dart did I really find my place. And you know what? That's one thing that is vital. Learning and adapting and finding the style that fits you. Now, I do think everybody should know how to use something roughly akin to this guy. And this is one of my how easy can you make I believe it was an axe trainer for a while. It's been a lot of things because I set different heads on it, but I really like this grip I made, and this is a really good length for me to handle things indoors. I don't know, no clue or idea why my lightsaber would make sense in that run. But being able to sword fight is good. Being able to find the weapon that calls to you. Now, I can make a lot of things go. I'm really sorry that happened. Thesis tried to teach me several sword forms and styles, but nothing fit. I got very discouraged and felt pretty useless. That can happen, especially if it's a round peg square hole kind of scenario. Not everyone is built for every style. And there has to be interest, there has to be desire. The weapon needs to be scaled to you. The approach needs to be scaled to you. So, what do I mean? I'm going to pull out my book, which I haven't done live in a while. But in here, I talk about how to deal with different types of opponents. All right? And I talk about assessing your opponents. Let's say it starts on page 47. Okay, between 46 and 47, we talk about different types of opponents, including the much larger opponent. Anybody who's seen John Miner, he was the inspiration for that picture. But when you break down types of opponent, you can also learn more about where you fit in. And the fact, this is one of the hardest things you can learn, is that not everyone can learn from everyone. Everyone has a different teaching style. And just because the style may not resonate with you either right now, okay, or their approach just isn't going to hit, doesn't mean you can't learn if you want to. It's also, like I said, about finding what works for you. Now, there is a list of things I believe everybody should have a basis in understanding how to apply. Let me see if I can get this on screen enough to be of use. If I stick to this side, I should be okay. Okay. This is just going to help me keep track so my brain doesn't slip. I think everyone needs to know that really doesn't show up at all, does it? That's fine. Oh, I just whiffered that across the room. Anyway. Knife. You should be able to handle some kind of weapon. And this isn't mastery. This is the basic of what you should be able to make go. A knife of some sort. You don't have to be good at it. I'm not asking you to be good yet. I'm not asking you to be masterful. And you may have a background setting. But you need, as an adult, to understand how to use a knife as a tool and as a weapon. This is going to include all the vague knife-shaped things, so that when you're in a emergency self-defense situation, you can realize this is the light charger for a solar light set that isn't working right now. I have to mess with it. It has a spike on the end. It will function basically in an emergency, remarkably like a small knife that pokes. I can make this go. So you want to know how to use a knife. You want to, did I whip my marker? No, I didn't. You want to learn how to use a stick. Roughly, too long to be considered a knife length, not a staff. You want to be able to use something this long to defend yourself. If it is an edged weapon, a sword, groovy. The the trick is, don't get too caught up on what this represents. And I am following your comments, thesis, and I will get to them. But if I do, I will lose my train of thought. So no, please don't take offense. You're running one of these because this is the length you're going to find of the handle of any number of things. Large screwdrivers, plungers, which are wonderful things to acquire for self-defense because the gross aspect can be a deterrent. This is also the length of most of your shorter swords. The next thing you want to know is where you kept your marker. Okay. So, 1, knife. 2, stick. The stick is your sword. Is that still on camera? Okay. So if I do that, that's basically the line. The camera's not catching on my mark board. 3, Whoops. I can write. My brain keeps trying to rewrite stick. Staff. That's your broomstick. If you go to buy a broom for your house, either get a sturdy metal one or an old style wooden one that can work with this. Okay? I think everybody should be able to at least, this is going to cover staff, this is going to cover spear. These two concepts. Now, your glaive or polearm falls in the other. Axe. Now, axe is any mass weapon. That's your hammer. That's your axe. That's a frying pan. A frying pan handles like an unwieldy axe. You got a lot of weight on one end, a handle on the other. Learning how to process this. What you are seeing is, this is what's going to begin a sort of periodic table. Okay, so this is, swordsman's table of stuff. What that means is, if you're surrounded for personal defense and you are not armed, being able to realize the class of what's around you and then improvise its handling effectively is something everyone should be able to know. It just makes you safer. Now, these are all melee weapons. These are all handheld. These aren't ranged weapons. These aren't flail weapons. But I think understanding these in, not necessarily in that order, but it's easier a lot of times in limited space to know these. Now, I see my desk is not a good place for me to demonstrate, but when my brain switches over, these cease to be scissors. This is now a knife. Okay? Bam. Every object. This is a art pen. It's rigid. I can do a lot of knife style blows with this. It's still, it's a knife. It's a bit of a stick. It's a little flimsy. Not a first go. Certainly droppable if you upgrade to something else as you move through the room or the situation. As I demonstrated, it's totally droppable. Like, as soon as that I get this. I'm much happier here. I've got some reach. Now, this guy's going to be your baseball bat, your any short-handled object you have. I know of one person who used the squeegee at a gas station. The handle for it, they used the full squeegee, so it handled basically like an axe, to defend themselves because somebody tried to mug them with a knife while at the gas pump in the middle of the night. I don't recommend it, but he made it work. So, you say what you say. Understanding this mental process is what's going to help you, see your world and how you train. This is weapon-based elementary school. Understanding this. Now, the trick is these classes. Now, if I give a stick like this, okay, to my buddy John Miner, one, it's about that long. He's an SCA fighter. He's going to bam, bam, bam. He's going to flow through it that way. If I give it to my friend Trey, she's a fencer. So she's far more likely to use some of the cuts up here and just jab the snot out of somebody with this. And retain and do some other shady things because we play. But same tool, different handling. Now, not everybody can learn from your style of handling. I don't want to lose the comments, so I'm going to stop here for a second. We're going to get back into it because there's a second tier of weaponry I want to discuss. But going all the way back, Jin Dao, rapier, short sword, small sword. I'd like to know what training devices you were using for a couple of these, because that's very interesting. Twin daggers, we tried them all, and nothing stuck. I'm sure everyone figured out by now that Kitty isn't her actual name, but comes from a nickname we all call because she moves very feline and cat-like. It wasn't until my brain caught up and started thinking about whips that we turned to rope dart and everything fell into place. Thesis continues. Every person I've ever taught weapons to learn staff first. Is probably the basis of every weapon form in existence. There's a reason the staff is called the grandfather of all weapons. Abso-fraggin-lutely. Now, you don't have to know the pretty things, and twirls are overrated. Sorry. A spicy take here. But twirls are definitely overrated. Set, stay, and we'll talk about it. I'm thinking I might be overthinking. What I think I might be doing when I talk about because I need to write up a whole lot of styles. I have a whole lot of sub-styles. Rapier took me 15 years and, about 100 plus pages at 8.5 by 11 to be able to write up. A lot of these other styles, with that as a basis, I can do a lot of other things with much faster. I am planning to write a series of articles. They will be available for my Patreon viewers, Patreon supporters, my patrons, as I do that. So look to that very soon. I just need to get a lot of things put down in a rough order, and I know you guys aren't going to steal my material. Frog G, I don't think I know a single sailor that didn't practice their staff skills with a mop. Some were not very effectively, but efforts. And you know what? That's great. I have pushed more mops than anybody. I have been a janitor. I have cleaned up people's poo so much. I know my way around a mop, and I can tell you by feel if it's a good mop or a crud mop. And making a mop work will work you and get you in better shape. If you do it with the right footwork, you can do amazing things with a mop. And if you put your foot on and have that second to unscrew that handle, now you have a stout, an old style mop has a stout wooden handle with a threaded metal burr on the end. This is a thing of improvised beauty. So yes, there's a lot. Let's see, new comments. Oh, I got a nice little comment dump here. Boo. Wow, I got good. My staff skills were pretty rudimentary, but I did it. And you don't have to be good. One thing, people take self-defense training and they take survival mentality and they put 90+% of their effort into things that are, 95% of their effort goes into a 5% chance. I see this all the time. When what you should be practicing is situational awareness, so you don't need tactical awareness. Because if your situational awareness is turned on, you're observant. One, that's going to deter people. And two, that's going to let you see the problem before it's a problem and leave. I believe in applied cowardice. I believe in, nope, I'm not paid to be a superhero. I am not currently enlisted, drafted, or anything soldier-like. And let's be honest with my physicality, that's not a problem I have. But what we can do is talk. You do, if things go wrong, if you do your work, you'll deal with it better than the far average. And I do believe in shooting towards a B, because the effort you need, kind of bell curvy, to get more and more high level prestige sometimes just isn't worth the amount of time it would take to be that good. Hi, Flying Feline. Always good to see you. I'm working on rescheduling my world, so I may try to visit you more often. Shoot me your links so I can kind of set things. And Frog G and Flying Feline are chatting. Foxy. And that will happen. If you're several years ago, I was on vacation with my parents and I did a staff forum with a mom. It wasn't until I was finished that I noticed several people with cameras. Oh God, guys, I walk with a cane much of the time. You don't think when I was subbing between rooms, I wasn't in there doing my drills with a cane? You know, out of boredom, pop, 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 pop. They're away now. Maybe says, "Hi, Foxy." Here's our vacation videos. Here's dinner. Here's our hotel room. Here's some crazy guy flailing around with a mop. Hey, thank you for coming by, Feline. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, you really need to. This is a great show where we can talk about. This is what I love. I love being able to hop on and talk and help people who have difficulties and do stuff. You too, later, Frog. Okay, so I think I got to actually talk to her. I may not have before she was gone, but if not, she knows I have the love. It happens. The more you train, the more you fidget like a trained person. It's just sort of a thing that happens. So, getting back to Kitty, I'd have to see how you move to be able to talk. It may simply be that Thesis's training style on a lot of things doesn't transfer to you. Thesis is a fairly big guy. He's a very straightforward, very strong guy. Just from the videos and the motions I've seen, a very direct approach. You may need a more subtle both approach and delivery to find how you, like, if I gave you this little stick guy, like I said earlier, how it feels natural to move with what you already know needs to be adapted, and it may not send over to to what you're doing, to your brain. Everybody has an internal groove. I use the term groovy. I use it unapologetically and unironically because I believe there's a rhythm. And when you find your rhythm and you kind of find the melody that life works best for you, everything comes together. Very much in physical martial arts. Oh, hold up. I got to skip ahead for a second. What's up, Luke? Luke Agliata, a death metal hero, an amazing singer, talented artist, and a hell of a gamer, hell of a gentleman. He shows up on his own channel. He shows up on Red Valkyrie Presents Dice Dudes and Dames, or Dice Dames and Dudes at Triple D. My old alma mater, from last season. I'm so glad to see you, Luke. Life is really good. Say hi to Luke if you know him. If not, you need to get to know him and follow his channel. I'm smaller and sneaky-ish. Teaching me has taught him a lot. Yes. Okay. And, hello there. Foxy's saying hello there to Luke. That's Death Metal Hero. I have two major Lukes in my life, Luke Stone and Death Metal Hero. Oh, I miss you all the time. I'm actually working in my head on I'll let this slip on a comic, whatever happened to Gizmo Glitch, because I've got theories. We know about the game that never happened, and I've decided it's semi-canon in my head. And there's an alternate, there's what you guys know, and then the real Gizmo is stuck between. Things are happening in here. I will let slip on another day. I don't, I only have an hour here, and I want to stay semi on target. But we'll talk soon. I just have been forced into day walking by medication and situation. Alrighty. Now, and when you are a student, seek instruction from as many people as you can. Train in different styles. Watch other things. You have to think of learning how. Once you have a basis, you need a basis. Pick one, your starter guy, if you can find the right person, kind of like I try to be. Uh, will give you a solid foundation, and then explore. Maybe they're full of crud. Maybe there's something that works better for you. Maybe you'll go out, don't like it, come back home. That's fine. But absolutely. What you want to do is, my braces are off. I've made most of the week without needing my cane. I'm doing a whole lot of work to get better. Thank you for the support, Luke. You are one of the best friends I've made online in recent years, and it's just really cool. Anyhow, train, folks. Train. It's you don't just listen to one type of music. You listen to other things, and maybe it's not normally your jam, but you might find something you like, and that influences you, and then you try other things. Food is that way. And that's going to happen too. The style of you at one point is very different because Foxy says, and I probably should read this for the people who are listening, and some of my friends are dyslexic worse than I am and prefer me to read it. I learned a lot from my mom when I was little, but when I grew up, my body style was completely different. And that's a thing. It is hard when your body type is different from your relatives, from the other students, and from your instructors. You're just certain. Since I gained weight and since things, I'm much more rooted than I used to be. I was dang near an airbender in my youth, but and that's okay. As we grow and change, our style changes, and if something ceases working, discard it. Just let it go. Learn new things. Kitty, listening to the fact you're looking at capoeira and rope dart, they're very, and I understand this is just chat analysis, but they are very dynamic, very motion-based styles. I think you might really like looking to Eskrima. Are you on the Historical Fencing Guild Facebook group? There's a public group you can join, obviously for free. It's a public group. I share videos and things I find. I cannot remember the gentleman he's teaching, but he's teaching something very much like Eskrima. It may be a variant, but very simple, but balanced. And I think the flows of Eskrima short stick might really, really, really sing with you. Because to do rope dart, you're about ranges. You may also like longer weapons, like different approaches to pole arm, like glaive or quandao. Something where the rotation and the flow happen. Because there are a lot of spear styles that will flow really, really might work. No worries. Worst come to worst, I'm sure Foxy or Thesis can send you stuff. Hey, nothing wrong with that. I understand what it's like to be a dwarf or a hobbit among elves. And that's part of, I'm a fantasy guy. I'm a fantasy author. I love fantasy writing. I haven't done enough of it. I don't know. Have I published? I need to publish fantasy. Anyway, part of it, as a short term, I think a body types by the classic fantasy races. Like you look at Thesis, he screams orc. I mean, he's stout and wide and strong and tall. John Minor rocks a giant Goliath. But it's hard when the people around you are very lithe and they're balanced, and you're a rock. And that's, and there's nothing wrong with that. I kind of channel Hobbit these days. I channel Dwarf these days. Not as much as my buddy Jim. Jim is much more of a dwarf. Jim is a dwarven defender. Okay. Espada y Daga, and like I said, I'd really have to see how she moved, and it could just be a matter of approach. That's one of the hardest things for an instructor to accept. There are some people who really don't resonate with the way I teach. They love, I've had them, they love sparring with me, they'll talk with me, but they couldn't learn from me. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's some people who, for example, really, really need precise forms. They're sheet music musicians. You know what I'm saying? Tap A, B, C kind of thing. Whereas the more, especially because I've watched you, you're very form oriented. That's not a bad thing. It's not my jam, but it's not a bad thing. And sometimes it's really cool. But she may have needed a different, because rope darts are both flexible in content, but very, how do I put this? It's almost directly opposed to itself. It's flexible, but when taut, it's incredibly rigid. The rope is soft, but the weight is incredibly hard. It's a very interesting balanced style of dynamic and static. I get the same thing from capoeira. This is a very fluid background, very dynamic. It's interesting. So I would say it may be a case where she may just need a different approach. Well, this is one of those where I'd have to see videos and be able to kind of give you an analysis, which me, I have no problem doing. I'm all about helping people with specific problems get better. And if I could look at it and go, I don't know, there's also the matter of preference. If you don't want to learn, you won't learn. That's why I put things in broad categories when I'm like, learn how to make this go, learn how to make this go, learn how to make this go, and then figure out which aspects are most comfortable. I'm thinking, because you have that fluid, I can see a very fluid strike where if you combine staff and spear, so that you're getting a very shifting, dynamic, God. Like I said, I have to see how you're moving and what response that would work, and you probably would do better with a blade dancing approach versus some of the more rigid styles. So you might consider a short to a mid-length curved, very light weapon, like a shamshir or a scimitar, kind of very narrow saber, even where you have flow, because everything about the two styles you've shown is about the conservation of momentum into flow. This kick misses, it's going to carry me into a cartwheel, which is going to bring this punch, which is going to carry me into a spin, which is going to bring a back kick kind of scenario. Rope dart, again, you're never hard stopping the energy. It's always redirecting and adjusting it. So you probably need a very fluid approach. And you're going to be less about what weapon it is and more about fighting it your way. And especially with Foxy, because he said, yeah, having same class definitely makes things different with very feline movements and solid movements of Foxy. Go Avatar with it. You don't be afraid to reshape problems till you find something that fits. If you have an earthbender and an airbender or a waterbender in the same situation, they're going to move very differently and they're going to take very different approaches. Cindy kept always brilliant. So, what is the fascination with tossing weapons that aren't thrown weapons from the hand back to the same hand? Hmm. Now, are you talking about rope dart and making that go, or are you talking? Oh, we're gonna pause right here. Thesis says, I've been told I move like a waterbender. That makes sense. Waterbending, the art they drafted for waterbending was based in Tai Chi. I've been told, since I've never seen the show, I have no idea what that means. It's a very fluid, very flexible style. I really, if you haven't seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, there was a film, allegedly. I say that because no one wants to acknowledge it. Don't watch that. Go to your local library, look online, put on an eye patch, acquire that. It's 3 seasons long, I believe. Don't worry about the sequel series too much. Watch Avatar: The Last Airbender through. It is the best anime that didn't come out of Japan ever made, probably. And I really, really like it. It will help you. That exactly. The cartoon is better. That's what I'm talking about. Goofy form I'm learning. Now, see, that depends on fan, because there are 2 basic types of fan. You have a steel-boned fan, which is rigid, and one that was considered to be edged at the end, and they were actually, in some cases, thrown. Very elaborate, very dangerous. So I'd have to watch the video, but part of it is just what you're doing is practicing recovery. Do I have a weapon I dare try that with in here? I mean, it's hard to get it on camera, but being able to switch a weapon from hand to hand safely means if you drop it, you can snag it as it goes. That is something that gets. I agree, but I was trying to keep it from being an overwhelming assignment. I don't think she's learning the Jake Mace. That doesn't seem to be Cindy's reference, but if it is, I'd love to know. And Bagua. Which one of them's Bagua? Is it fire? I think firebending was Bagua. I used to know all 4. It's been a while. The point being, the approach, what it's nice to have is ways to compartmentalize concepts in shortcuts. They don't always work, but lets you process and then take a concept apart. So it's like, there are people I know who literally think in terms of the 7 primary Jedi fighting styles. Whatever resonates with you as a definer lets you break things down. You know what? That is possible. Circle walking, yes. One thing now, I'm not the biggest forms guy. The reason I don't like forms is, I have a tin whistle. I've been working on it for years. I had to stop because of my hands. I'm getting back into it. To learn music, you have to learn your scales, and then you learn songs. If you learn the song, and I've made this mistake in my life, without really practicing the scales, you can't improvise, or it's much harder. You don't understand the pieces. When you do a lot of excessive forms. If you don't free spar, your body picks it up and you gain your body will go to the next piece of the form, whether you want it to or not in a stress situation. And that's one of those that just saw it was English without a bunch of aerial foo. That makes sense. Some days he makes me sick. Now see, that's the other thing. Weapons transitions, okay? Blade transitions. Let's do a little bit of vocabulary. We'll get into it. I'm going to arm you for a second, okay? Blade transfers. If I hand parry, actually here, got my lightsaber, bonk, right? If I catch with a blade, see, that's useless. I miss my cross guards. Here, make life real easy for an old fencer. I catch with my blade. Your sword has come in. Let's assume this is all I have. I need to close in so I can transfer the blade from my my weapon to a deflection by the hand, which is hard because you're trying. You guys are being hard on me to free up the dagger and come in for the stab, right? That's a blade transfer. Well, take that, Foxy! Foxy, you killed me on live TV. Dang it. Anyway, that's one type of blade transfer. Another type of blade transfer is if I'm fighting somebody over here, I've done something, someone's coming towards the exposed hand, and I switch hands. Now, that was a very ugly transfer and a very kind of blocky one because it's slow. That's a blade transfer. That I've transferred my blade. I have one hand because I needed it in the other hand. Perhaps this hand's been wounded. Practicing that as a concept and drilling with both arms is so vital. So that might make sense. Let's see. Well, and it's all about, you can pick up forms and look at things, test them. That's what I want. I want critical thinking from everyone who watches this, including me. If you have a reason to say what I'm saying is wrong, tell me, but do so in a way that both is civil first, because we want to keep things friendly here, and secondly, I can then fact check, because if I'm doing something wrong, Lord Almighty, I want to learn a better way. It's not about me. It's about the work. Yes! Beskar blocks sword, lightsabers. If I were fighting with any seriousness, you don't think I'd have a saber hilt on my lightsaber? Say, burr. I got some news, folks. Order 65 just shipped, and I saw a check mark on the next button. Anyway, why not protect your hand? And also, why not use a lanyard so that you don't constantly drop your sword? Rage quake over. I tried teaching Foxy spear, but she didn't, much like longer weapons being a shorter girl. I'm going to caveat that. Kitty isn't much taller, but I could probably try something. I only know one spear form, though. Well, then that's a case of doing research. And like I said, Kitty isn't linear. Everything that she's talking about fighting are very circular styles. So spear alone might be too linear a weapon style. Really look for a Quan Dao that's going, or a glaive approach, very SCA style almost, where you have lots of round and then spear thrusts and then back strikes. She needs a complex weapon because she's clearly a complex personality. Don't know much about any of the instructors nor lineage. Mine would be mighty particular. And that's part of the thing I've encountered. It's very hard, guys, when you've had a diverse training with, because I pop up with all sorts of people, and I, like, to this day I will never forget, I was sparring with somebody and he asked me something about how much poundage do you need to knock someone over, or what angle, and I don't know, because of course you do. And I went, no, you're an Aikido guy. I've never trained in Aikido. Just haven't. I've just piecemealed what works for me. He's like, you're lying, and got right in my face, spittle and all, that I had somehow trained in a martial art and I never told anyone. Like, what? No. No. So I did not do that. And now I have looked into Aikido, and it is eerie how the weapon styles of Aikido do fit many of my background and choices, and I will look into it critically at some point. And yeah, Bagua. Oh god, I really wish it's been so long. I really wish I were on better terms with Sword's Edge, because I think putting you and him in a conversation, if not a sparring section, would be so good for both of you. And absolutely. The other thing I wanted to get, you might try spear or staff or long pole. Linear would be Wing Chun long pole. You might like that. Certain glaive styles that have a butt spike, so it's dynamic, you might really like that. You may even like slightly shorter staves, like bow staff, Joe staff instead of bow. There are options. Don't be afraid to just look up different styles, watch people fight. If it doesn't look interesting or doesn't resonate, move on to something else. I'm not a flail guy. I am not a nunchaku guy. I don't really like them. I don't like having to fight weapons. I still respect them. It's just not my jam. You might really like nunchucks. I didn't see that listed, I don't think. You might really have some fun with rubber chucks. Maybe that's your jam. And that's what we're about finding. Now, let me see. I saw something. Foxy didn't like longer weapons being a shorter girl. Part of it was yours longer. Were your longer weapons scaled to you or to Foxy, with the caveat of diameter as well? Because remember, a full length staff for Foxy, an eyebrow length staff for Foxy, is nearly a Joe staff for you. You have to fit that. I'm going to say, especially in her case, spending a couple bucks on some PVC and end caps and making several pieces at different length, not to train with. You're not going to fight with these right now anyway, but to see how they move might really be a very good tool for her. Just check the grip, because ask her why it didn't work. Because almost every short person I've trained, especially women, they either go for very short, very aggressive weapons, hand axes, short daggers, or they go spear. And they want something relatively long that they can make the reach difference. So that might be, and I have no doubt. I have to ask these questions. Like I said, this is the "Do you smell fudge?" Wow. Alrighty. So, keep it up, and obviously message me, chat with me, guys. You know I'm always here for you. But we have already cracked that hour line, and that I can feel it starting in my hands a little bit. So what I'm going to say, oh, I do want to do a book recommendation. This is very inexpensive. The Theory and Practice of La Verdadera Destreza by Alberto Bomperezzi. I read it. I'm on a reread. This is one of my favorite manuals for deep diving Spanish swordsmanship. It's really got some great photos and some amazing sort of next level approach. This is one of those I feel reading it and going back over when I get back into fencing form will help me be better. So I want to do that. The other things I have to recommend, of course, are the Simple Sword and the Fighting Axe, both available through Amazon, because these are great starting books. I will be doing more. If you want me to write up... If you know of any spear staff forms that you think I would be good at, please either share them to Thesis or I will see them in the Facebook group. Yeah, thanks for the nice night. Have a good one. Take care of yourself. Okay, guys. I'm like I said, give me a little bit. I might just write something up real fast, kind of breaking down my approach to that. And I'll put it up in the Patreon for you. It'll be a little while because I may actually handwrite it first and then get it out there. But Facebook, fishnetted fish. I suggest fishnetted trident. Oh, we try not to do trippable things here for some person. But I do need to call it for medical reasons, as I've explained on earlier videos. If this did entertain or educate you at all, please like, share, and subscribe. I have a bunch of stuff I was going to get to discussing, but I got into your chat, and it's so much better if I can help and have this kind of conversation. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, aside from that, guys, do your drills. Go through the basic work in the Simple Sword. Go through these my videos. My very first video I ever posted on this channel is me going through the 9 guards of the Simple Sword. If you aren't sure what to do, because people, where do I start? It's a vertical format because I shot it on my phone. Get a stick of some sort, roughly 3 feet long or less, that feels comfortable in your hand. Go through those drills. Do them a lot. That will give you blade work. We'll talk about footwork and stance at another day. Other than that, yes, you should giggle because that was funny. Guys, do your drills. Keep your guard up. That means being aware. I know things are scary, but be aware enough to know what's going on and be aware of the good things around you despite what else is going on. Being conscious of the light in your life is what's going to hold back the darkness. Be kind to yourself because sometimes no one else will. And be kind to others because sometimes nobody else will be kind to them. And above all else, guys, thank you so much for supporting your local swordmaster. I will see you next week with another Historical Fencing Guild live stream for episode 10. And I am planning to shoot some non-live stream videos for both the greater channel at large and my Patreon, which I'm scrapping the tiers. A whole bunch of good things are coming. Bear with me. Other than that, guys, have a good one.